Alright, instead of being burned alive like how real vampires are, these vampires sparkle when exposed to sunlight.
What the hell is that crap?
Yeah, I know, and girls are so crazy for this stuff too.
Guys, don't you have a show to do?
No, isn't it for tomorrow?
No, it starts today.
Crap! Hi guys, I'm Mark Rodriguez. And that's Johnny Rodriguez. Well, I guess it's good to see pizza right now to get him in the mood for today's game. Today we're going to talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters for the SNES. We were always big Ninja Turtle fans, and of course you know we're also big fans of fighting games. So when Konami decided to combine it to in 1993, we were very excited. So before they released a brand new TMNT Smash-Up for the Wii, let's take a look at the original set of Ninja Turtle fighting games.
Tournament Fighters is a fast-paced fighting game with awesome graphics, great music, excellent sound effects, and a combo system very similar to Street Fighter 2. The game has 10 playable characters: Leonardo, Raphael, Donatello, Michelangelo, Shredder, Chrome Dome, War, Wingnut, Armageddon, and Aska. You also run into the two bosses, Rakin and Karai, which you can select with a code. Aside from the usual fireballs and uppercuts, each character has their own ultimate attack moves. There's a second energy bar below your life bar that fills up as you attack your opponents, even if they block. When it's full, it glows green and you can press the X and A buttons at the same time to do the ultimate attack move. The motion might be the same for everyone, but each fighter has a different move. The game offers two modes to play, each with slight differences. The tournament mode is the basic mode in any fighting game. The Turtles hear about a martial arts tournament and find out that Shredder's enlisted, so they sign up to stop him. After beating all the fighters and the ever so popular bonus round most fighting games have, you face Rakin and Karai to finish the game. Each fighter has their own ending. Story mode only allows you to choose the 4 turtles, and it has limited continues. Story mode explains that the Turtles have already defeated Shredder, but now some group called the Shredder Elite has kidnapped April and Splinter. Story mode adds cutscenes and pre-fight dialogue as the Turtles try to find out about the Elite and rescue their friends, similar to the Art of Fighting games, with the dialogue being just as deep. You also have to fight without the ultimate attack move since the second energy bar is gone. You also have the typical versus mode and watch mode, where you watch the computer fight itself. What's the point of that?
The only problem with the game is how it handles new challengers. Let's say you're playing tournament mode and you made it all the way to Karai, and then your best friend comes on to challenge you to a fight. Well, you fight it out, you kick his ass, then you go right back to fighting Karai, right? No. Now you're stuck in versus mode for some reason, and there's no way out. The only way you can get out is by quitting the game, which means that if you made it all the way to Karai, you're going to have to start all over again. Now in any other fighting game where you get a challenger, you beat him up and you go back to where you left off. So Konami, what happened here? Tournament Fighters had a very interesting cast of characters, but not all of them were from the famous 80s cartoon show. The Turtles first appeared in the independent comic book released in 1984, created by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, which was published by Mirage Comics. Now the comics were out for a while, but the Turtles didn't hit it big until the cartoon show, which was released in 1987. Now, up until then, all video games related to the Turtles had characters from the 80s cartoon show. But Tournament Fighters was different. Characters like Baxter Stockman and Casey Jones were reduced to background cameos. Even regulars like Diab and Rocksteady were just thrown into the background. Even those god-awful lame-ass neutrinos were featured in the game's background.
But what about the other characters? Let's take a look.
First we have the Shredder, that for whatever reason was called the Cyber Shredder in this game. I don't know why, doesn't have any mechanical parts or any robot implants. And we know it's not this guy that came out a few years later. Konami did release TMNT 3 Radical Rescue for the Game Boy, which also had the Cyber Shredder as the final boss, so I guess the whole cyber theme was in back then. There were several versions of Wingnut, but the game takes the Archie Comics version. In the comics, he was totally insane and hanged around a mutant mosquito named Screwloose. They sided with the Turtles to get revenge on Krang because he destroyed their homeworld. Armagon was also from the Archie Comics. He was an evil mutant shark from the future that caused problems for both the Turtles of the future and present day. In the comics, he was able to fire missiles from strange compartments attached to his shoulders. However, Konami missed out on this and made him spit out this strange water spiral thing instead. War was one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and in the comics, he had the ability to fire off some of the spikes attached to his body, another move that Konami missed out on. Chrome Dome had an action figure and made 2 appearances in the 80s cartoon show. As for the Rat King, he looks a lot more based on his Mirage Comics interpretation compared to the 80s cartoon show.
He looks like a fucking football player if you ask me.
In the game's general story, the Rat King is supposed to be the previous Tournament Fighters champion. He arrives at the Channel 6 building to challenge you. The only problem is that this means that his background stage is the Channel 6 building, and that means that he's stuck with this as his background music. Yeah, not exactly the kind of music you would associate with the Rat King.
Since when was the Rat King a martial arts champion to begin with?
As for Karai, she was the leader of the Japanese branch of the Foot and first appeared in the 13-issue epic called City at War in the Mirage Comics. Now I know she's a lot more popular nowadays because she's in the 2003 Turtle cartoon and also in the recently released CGI movie, but remember, this was way back in the 90s. Most people didn't know the Turtles started out in a black and white comic book, and since Karai was never in the cartoons or had an action figure, nobody had any idea who she was or why she was the final boss in the game instead of the Shredder. Not only that, but why did Konami turn this into this? I mean, just look at her. She doesn't look mean or threatening or menacing at all. She just looks grumpy because someone ate her sushi. Just compare her to the Karai that we know today.
Yeah, I'll take the one on the left.
Now this brings us to my personal favorite, Aska.
Oh, it's pronounced Aska, Johnny.
Whatever. The question is, who is she and where does she come from?
Actually, Aska was created by Konami to bring more Japanese fans to the Japanese version of the game. In fact, the Japanese version of Tournament Fighters was called TMNT Mutant Warriors, and Aska was wearing a thong instead of the US version, which was wearing bikini bottoms.
I guess this is why some fans call her Aska. If Konami wanted a female fighter, why couldn't they use April like in the Genesis version? Although she looks more like Blaze from Streets of Rage.
You just had to mention the Genesis version of the game, didn't you? Do we really have to talk about that shitty game?
Hey, the review wouldn't be complete if we didn't review all 3 of that game.
Alright. Put nicely, this game is trash. The graphics are terrible, the controls are sloppy, and while the music's not all that bad, it gets lost amongst the horrible sound effects and even worse voices, so it's all crap by association. It's like Konami wasn't even trying. I mean, just look at the Turtles. They look horrible, especially when compared to the SNES version. I mean, this game is such a big piece of shit.
Mark, review the game.
Right. In this game, Krang creates evil turtle clones that kidnap Master Splinter, and the Turtles have to go to Dimension X to get them back. This game lets you choose from the 4 Turtles, April Blaze O'Neil, Casey Jones, Ray Fillet, and a Konami-created character named Sisyphus.
If Konami's creating characters, I prefer Aska.
Now, after you defeat the clones, you face the 3 bosses, a Triceraton, Krang's android body, and Karai. Yep, Karai is in this game too and she still looks like crap. Although you have to wonder, what happened to Shredder? He's not mentioned anywhere in this game whatsoever. While this game featured things that the SNES version did, like taunts and breakaway backgrounds, the game is still garbage. I know the backgrounds are very well detailed and all that, but they're still very grotesque and disgusting to look at. I'm surprised Konami released this piece of crap. Now, coming from Konami, you have to ask yourself, what the fuck happened here? I mean, what? They just split into two groups or something? Did the kick-ass version of the group did the SNES version, and the suck-ass version of the group did the Genesis version? I mean, what the fuck, man? I mean, this is Konami what we're talking about. Konami has always made badass Turtle games. They made the original Turtle arcade game, they made Turtles in Time, they made Turtles the Manhattan Project for the NES. I mean, I can't believe the same company that made those games put out this piece of shit!
Well, anyways, there's the NES version of the game.
The NES version is quite possibly the only fighting game ever made for the 8-bit system. Besides the 4 Turtles, Casey Jones, and the Shredder, you also get to pick this dragon called Hothead. He was called Warrior Dragon in the Archie comics, but since the action figure used the Hothead name, I guess Konami went with that. Now, Hothead's sprite was so large that the NES didn't allow Hothead versus Hothead matches. There was a code to get around this, however, but when you have 2 Hotheads on the screen, the game would still glitch up horribly.
If they knew about Nintendo's limitations, why use such a large sprite anyways? They could have used that space for April or Aska.
Enough about Aska already. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters is an awesome fighting game, and the SNES version is definitely the best one. In fact, I dare say that there was ever a top 10 list of best SNES fighting games, this game has gotta be on it. And not only that, but there's still pizza left?
Yeah, there's more pizza in the back.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm Mark Rodriguez.
I'm Johnny Rodriguez.
Thanks for watching.
See you next time.
Hey, save some for me, guys.